In this video, we're going to be solving for a variable in terms of other variables. Okay, so there'll be two types of problems. This is going to be problem type 1. I'll get to problem type 2 after these three examples. Okay, so we've got the first one. It says solve for h. So we find h. It's down here on bottom, right? Okay, so we need to get the h out from the bottom. Okay, we also need to maybe try to get rid of all the fractions if that's possible. So we can see that there's two fractions. So we have a 6 and an h. So we can multiply everything by 6h. 6h over here and 6h over here. Okay, so what that's going to do here on the right side is we have an h on bottom and top. That cancels. Now the 6 there is going to stay with the v. Okay, so on that right side there, we're going to have 6v. Okay. And on the left side, you've got this 6 here that cancels with this 6 here, which means that you're going to have h times b. You can do either bh or hb. I like bh. Okay. So now we're still trying to solve for h. We just need to get rid of that b that's touching it. So I can divide by b since it's multiplying. Okay, so that'll make it cancel there, and you get h is equal to 6v over b, and that's it. Okay. So look at this next one. Okay, so we do not have two fractions on both sides. We only have the one fraction. So to get rid of the fraction, we could just multiply by the denominator. That happens to also be the variable we're looking for. So I'll multiply by y on both sides, which will make it cancel over here and leave the x. And on the other side, we'll have 6y. Now we've got it solved for x, but it didn't say solve for x. It said solve for y. So we want to solve for y by getting rid of this 6. It's being multiplied. We're going to divide it. Okay, so this cancels, which gets y by itself, which was what we were trying to do. So y equals x over 6. You could write this either way. It means the same thing. Okay, these two statements are the same. I just made them opposite sides. Okay, and now the third one, solve for m. It's very similar to what we just did. We will multiply by that denominator on both sides. Okay, so that'll make it cancel right there. And then we get MA or AM, however you want to write it, equals F. If you're familiar with physics at all, force equals mass times acceleration might come to mind. But again, they ask us to solve for M. We have MA. We need to get rid of that A. So we divide it since it was being multiplied. Okay, so mass equals force divided by acceleration to continue the physics trend there. But m is equal to F over A. Okay. Okay, here's the continuation. We've got problem type 2 now. Okay, so let's look at this first one. It says solve for d sub 2. I'll just call that d2, d1 and d2. But it is actually d sub 1 and d sub 2. So we need to get rid of everything over here that is not a d2. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of all the fractions. So we can multiply by the denominator on both sides, multiply by L. Okay, so that gives you LW or WL, depending on how you want to write it. These L's cancel, so you get 3 times D1 minus D2. Okay, next thing you can do, you have two options. You can either distribute the 3, which is fine, or you could divide by 3. Should make it cancel, but you have to divide the other side. So that saves us one step. So I'll just do it that way. LW divided by 3 equals D1 minus D2. Okay, so we still want to get D2 by itself, so we need to move that D1 over. So subtract D1 from both sides. Okay, so it's not a part of the fraction, so we'll leave it separate. So you still have the LW over 3 minus D1 equals negative D2. Okay, so we're almost done, except it asks us to solve for D2, not negative D2. So I need to get rid of that negative. So I'll multiply all three terms by a negative 1. Negative 1, and this one times negative 1. Each one of those will get multiplied by negative 1. So it'll change this one to negative LW over 3. This one will be positive d1, and then equals positive d2. So now we've got d2 by itself, and that is solved. Okay, let's look at the next one. Solve for v. Here's v. Okay, so first let's get rid of the fraction multiplied by z. Okay, so it'll cancel. So you get w times 4 minus v equals xz. Okay, and now we still want this, but we've got a parentheses with this outside of it. So I can do what I did last time. I can divide by that thing that's out front. Last time it was a number, right? It was the 3, but this time it's a variable, w. Either way, you can still do it. Okay, so it will cancel right here, giving you 4 minus v is equal to x z over w. Okay, now we still want to get v by itself, so let's subtract the 4. That'll cancel it here. Still have negative v is equal to x z over w minus 4. Okay, and just like we did last time, we need to change the sign to positive. So we need to multiply all terms by a negative 1. Basically what that means is you're changing all the signs in the problem. When we multiply by negative 1 on everything, this will change, and this will change. All of them will change if I multiply by negative 1. So you can say, oh, I'm just going to distribute a negative 1 to the entire thing. Okay, so the v will be positive. This term was positive, now it's negative. And this term was negative, now it's positive. And that is your answer. Okay, let's do these next two. Okay, so we've got this, and it says solve for u. U's down there. Strategy's still the same, though. We want to get rid of that fraction if we can. So we've done this on some previous videos. We just multiply by the denominator. Multiply by u minus 8 on both sides. Okay, so it'll make this u minus 8 go away, which will leave you with s minus t on the right side. Over here, let's go ahead and, well, no, let's not distribute. Let's just leave it how it is. U minus 8 times r. We're trying to solve for u, so I can get rid of that r that's being multiplied by that parentheses. So I divide the r, which will make it cancel. Divide the r here. So that gives me u minus 8. I no longer need the parentheses because there's nothing else over here besides the u minus 8. Equals s minus t over r. Now the one last thing I need to do, get rid of this 8 that is being subtracted, so I will add an 8. So I'll get u is equal to s minus t over r plus 8. Okay, last problem for this video. We're solving for b. It's right there. So first, you guessed it, get rid of the denominator. Multiply by 5. Okay, so that will give me 5k. These 5's go away, so equals p times a minus b. Here's the b I'm looking for. So just like all the other problems, I can get rid of this thing that's out front here that's being multiplied by dividing it. So that gives me 5k over p. This cancels, equals a minus b. I'm still solving for the b, so I need to get rid of the a. I will subtract an a from both sides so that it cancels. So I get 5k over p minus a is equal to negative b. Notice that we have a negative, just like we did on a couple of these other problems. So I can change all the signs in the problem, essentially by multiplying everything by negative 1 on both sides. But essentially you're changing the signs. So it goes, this was positive, now it's negative. This was negative, now it's positive. This was negative, now it's positive, and you've solved for b. And that's it.